Hello guys, welcome to EduDextro. I am Mohammed Irfan. In this video, we are going to do the class 11 chapter biological classification. And as you all know, this is the third lecture for this chapter, and yes, this is going to be one of the shortest lectures and the last lecture for this chapter. So without any delay, let's go into the academics. So now we are going to learn about Kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae includes all the eukaryotic uh, Yes, it includes all the eukaryotic chlorophyll containing organisms commonly called plants. This is basic knowledge, right? No need to explain anything. And a few members are partially heterotrophic, such as the insectivorous plants or parasites. The bladderwort and Venus flytrap are examples of insectivorous plants. Now, bladderwort is a plant which basically feeds on small fishes. Okay, and Venus flytrap, as we know from our smaller grades, it feeds on insects, right? And even Sasuta is a parasitic plant. The plant cells have an eukaryotic structure with prominent chloroplasts and cell wall, mainly of cellulose. This is all we have done in table 2.1 already. And we will study the eukaryotic cell structure in detail in another chapter. And also, Plantae includes algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. And these all have been put under a separate chapter. And the life cycle of plants has two distinct phases, diploid sporophytic and the haploid gametophytic, and these alternate with each other. And the lengths of the haploid and diploid phases and whether these phases are free living or free living or dependent on others vary among different groups in plants. And this phenomenon is alternation of generation. These all you don't need to study right now. You will have it as a separate chapter called Plant Kingdom. So no need to spend energy right now for studying this region. You'll see it in chapter 3, which is Plant Kingdom. Okay. Now Kingdom Animalia is also another chapter, so no need to worry. But let's go through this paragraph so that we don't miss out any points. Now the kingdom Animalia is heterotrophic eukaryotic organisms that are multicellular, right? These all are basic knowledge that they are heterotrophic eukaryotic multicellular and they lack the cell walls. They directly or indirectly depend on plants and for food, right? Food chain stuff. And they digest their food in an internal cavity and store food reserves as glycogen or fat. This point is not given in Animal Kingdom chapter, but yes, all our basic stuff only. And their mode of nutrition is a holozoic, that is, they do ingestion of food. We had already seen this as an important point in table 2.1, that is, Animalia kingdom has holozoic nutrition, and holozoic is nothing but when you eat all the food inside your alimentary canal. That is the ingestion of food. Okay, so they follow a definite growth pattern and they grow into adults that have a definite shape and size. And the higher forms show elaborate sensory and neuromotor mechanism, and most of them are capable of locomotion. Who the higher forms, not the lower forms. Higher forms can do locomotion. And sexual reproduction is by copulation of male and female followed by embryological development, and more detail we'll see it in chapter 4, that is Animal Kingdom. Now this is the important part. All the things you have to study from this part, right? Viruses, viroids and prions and lichen. So who are these VIP guys? Viruses, viroids, prions and lichens. So these guys are the people who do not have any mention in the five kingdom classification. Okay, these four guys do not have any mention in the five kingdom classification. And even these include lichens and some acellular organisms. Acellular, not a proper cell. Okay, acellular organisms like viruses, viroids and prions. So we are going to talk about these organisms in brief over here. All of us would have suffered with flu, right? Common cold. And these are due to some viruses which attack us. Viruses did not find a place in classification since they are not considered truly living. Okay, they are not considered truly living. Therefore, they do not find a place in the classification system. If we understand the living as those organisms that have a cell structure, then viruses are considered non-living, not truly living. They are living, no, that's why they can cause a disease. But yes, we do not consider them as truly living because they do not have a proper cell structure. The viruses are non-cellular organisms that are characterized by having an inert crystalline structure outside the living cell. That is why humans struggle to fight against these viruses, that they have this inert crystalline structure outside the living cell. Okay. Once they infect a cell, they take over the machinery of the host cell to replicate themselves, killing the host, right? And if you have learned that human health and disease chapter already, then you will be knowing about this. And yes, this is a common fact that viruses take over the machinery of the host cell to replicate themselves. And ultimately, they'll kill the host. Virus means venom or poisonous fluid. Ivanovsky in 1892 recognized certain microbes as causal organisms for the disease tobacco mosaic. Okay, that is the tobacco mosaic disease seen in tobacco. And Ivanovsky saw that there were certain microbes which were responsible for this one. These were found to be smaller than bacteria because they pass through bacteria-proof filter. So there was a filter in which bacteria cannot pass through. Okay, bacteria cannot pass through because bacteria was bigger than the filter. But virus passed through the filter because virus was smaller than the bacteria. Okay, so virus passed through the filter, but bacteria could not pass through the filter. M.W. Bejernik in 1898 demonstrated that the extract of the infected plants of tobacco caused an infection in healthy plants, and he called this fluid as Contagium vivum fluidum, or if you translate to English, it is called Contagium means infectious, vivum means living, and fluidum means fluid. Okay. So Contagium vivum fluidum is the name of the fluid he called, which was extracted from the infected plants of tobacco. W. M. Stanley in 1935 showed that viruses could be crystallized, and crystals consists of large proteins. Okay, they are inert outside their specific host cell, and viruses are obligate parasites. So all these scientist names you would have been confused, right? No need to worry. I am making a trick for that also, and in that video I'll be posting it soon along with the other tricks. Next, in addition to proteins, the viruses also contain genetic material, and this could be either a RNA or a DNA. No virus contains both RNA and DNA. Okay, either it will be a RNA virus or it will be a DNA virus. A virus is a nucleoprotein. Okay, nucleo means the nucleic acid inside the protein coat. So that is why it's called the nucleoprotein. And yes, the genetic material is what it's infectious. If you see how an infection is caused by a virus, it is the genetic material which enters the cell. It is not the protein coat which enters the cell. Okay, this is also seen in another chapter of class 12 as well. And yes, if you have seen any other videos on YouTube and all, you would have seen that there will be a certain strand which is going inside the cell, and that is what is causing the infection. Okay, in general, the viruses that infect plants have single-stranded RNA. So plants are infected by single-stranded RNA. Okay, this is for plant. And those that infect animals have a single or double-stranded RNA or double-stranded DNA, and the bacteriophages. Basically, these are viruses which affect the bacteria. Okay, for these viruses, the bacteria is the host, and these viruses are double-stranded DNA viruses. So let's write animal over here, animal, and this is your bacteria virus. Okay, bacteriophage. Bacteria is nothing but it is a double-stranded DNA. Okay, in this one there is a simple trick for animal. What type of you know genetic material? You just write down that. Just write dsRNA. Okay, single-stranded became double-stranded, and it became double-stranded DNA, and you write these two together. So basically, animal is a dsRNA, ssRNA, and dsDNA. So it is as simple as that. So this one is having 1, this is having 3, this is having 1. Okay. The protein coat is called a capsid made of small subunits called capsomeres. Okay, so there is a protein coat and these are made up of smaller units called capsomeres. And this protects the nucleic acid. Okay, that is why it's called a nucleoprotein, right? Virus is called a nucleoprotein having a capsid enclosing the genetic material. Now these capsomeres are arranged in helical or polyhedral geometric forms. So there are some polyhedral shaped viruses and there are helical viruses as well. Okay, so viruses cause diseases like mumps, smallpox, herpes, and influenza. And yes, AIDS is very commonly known disease. And in plants, they can cause mosaic formation, leaf rolling, curling, yellowing, and vein clearing, dwarfing, and stunted growth. So this is tobacco mosaic virus or TMV. Okay, TMV is important. This is the tobacco mosaic virus. And over here, if you see the capsomeres are arranged in a helical form. Okay, helical means like this. This is the helical form. If you see clearly, if you see very clearly, you can see that the capsomeres are arranged in a helical form. And in this one, this is the polyhedron, this is the protein coat, and it's a bacteriophage, that is the virus that will be affecting the bacteria. And if you see over here, the protein coat is enclosing the genetic material, and it has tail fibers, a sheath, a collar, and a head. And whenever it's going to infect the cell, it will be pumping out this genetic material through this region into the cell. Okay, so from here the genetic material will be going into the host cell and causing the viral infection. Now we have another class, viroids, the next VIP who did not get seat in the 5 kingdom classification. So in 1971, Mr. Theo Diener discovered a new infectious agent, and this was smaller than virus and caused the potato spindle tuber disease. Okay, potato spindle tuber disease was caused by viroids. It was found to be a free RNA, lacked the protein coat. That is why it's called viroid and not virus. It is just a free RNA lacking the protein code. That is why it is ending with OID and not with US. Okay, it is ending with OID, viroid. Lacks the protein code which is found in virus. So RNA of the viroid was of low molecular weight. Next we have next VIP, which is prions. And in modern medicine, this is a really modern form of organism which has been found out, and this was basically due to an effort by modern medicine. Okay, and these prions cause certain neurological diseases, and these were found to be transmitted by an agent consisting of a protein abnormally folded protein. Okay, And this was similar in size of virus, but it is not a virus, right? It's not having protein code. I mean, it's not having the genetic material. It is just a abnormally folded protein. And these agents are called prions. And the most notable diseases caused by them is bovine spongiform encephalopathy, spongiform encephalopathy, or the mad cow disease. Name itself is telling, mad cow. Mad cow causes the cow to become mad, and this affects the cattle. So basically it is these prions, when they reach the brain, they cause certain diseases, certain disabilities in the brain. That is why it's called mad cow disease. And the analogous variant, basically nowadays you know what is variant, right? The analogous variant causes the CR Jacob disease in humans, or the CJD. Yes, CJD is also another neurological disease, which is basically the analogous variant of the bovine spongiform encephalopathies prion. Next we have lichens. Okay, lichens are symbiotic associations which are mutually useful associations between algae and fungi. Right? This is very common. This term is going to be very common in NCERT, and lichens are something which we already know. The algal component is nothing but the phycobiont, and fungal component is called the mycobiont. Now we can relate fungus with myco, right? Mycelium. So like that we relate fungal component with the mycobiome. And these are autotrophic and heterotrophic respectively. So fungus is going to be heterotrophic and your algae is going to be autotrophic. The algae is going to prepare food for the fungi, and fungi is going to provide shelter and absorb the mineral nutrients and water for its partner. So close is their association that if one saw a lichen in nature, one would never imagine that they had two different organisms within them. So even if you see, you can't tell that this is a association of two organisms. It is so close, so associated that you cannot differ between these organisms. So lichens are very good pollution indicators. This we'll be seeing ahead in a few more other chapters. And the fact is that they do not grow in polluted areas. So basically before 50 years, if you had seen lichen growing in an area, and if there have been a lot of factories in the area in the last 50 years, then there is no chance to see these lichens back in that area because they do not grow in polluted areas. So alright guys, that's the end of the video. If you do like this video, please do subscribe to my channel. Please share this video in all your groups to all your friends. If you like the video, please press the like button. If you don't like this video, please press the dislike button so that I get to know what is wrong with my video. To give your suggestions, you can leave it down in the comment section. So guys, see you all in the next video. Thank you so much.